Missions and the Simmons and Fletcher Local Missions Podcast. My name is Paul Cannon. I'm the host. I'm also the managing partner over at Simmons and Fletcher. And I am here with a special guest, Quincy Collins, with an organization called Families Helping Families. And I'm really excited to have an opportunity to talk to him because I've done a little talking with him about what his organization does and how it balloons. And I think it's very inspirational. So without further ado, Quincy, why don't you tell us, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what Families Helping Families does.
So thank you so much, Paul, for the opportunity. So my name is Quincy Collins. I am the founder of Families Helping Families. Families Helping Families basically provides groceries for a week to families that are in need during the Thanksgiving holiday. And so it's kind of taken off, and to the point now that we're having conversations with you, Paul, and again, we appreciate it. So,
well, good deal. Tell us a little bit about what Families Helping Families actually does during the holidays to help families.
Yeah, so basically, we go out, we source families through like the local law enforcement agencies, through the school districts to, basically find, those families that are actually in need. And then, so basically what we do is that once those families are found, we provide them with literally groceries for a week. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days. That includes, canned goods, all types of bread, ground beef, turkey, you name it. We try our best to, strategically provide enough food for at least a family around 4 or 5, maybe 6, and just kind of spread, the groceries as far as we can during the holiday season, and that also includes Thanksgiving, a meal for Thanksgiving. So, we try our best to make sure that they have enough to eat during that time.
Oh, that's awesome. And approximately how many families are you guys serving right now with this?
So this year, our goal is to provide 3,000 families with groceries for a week. But our minimum would be 1,500 families. That's our minimum that we normally set. Our target is set to 3,000, and if we're able to raise enough money, then that's what we shoot for, and that's our goal this year, is to provide 3,000 families with groceries for a week.
That is awesome, and that's kind of the greater Houston area encompassed within those selections of families, correct?
Yep. So we focus on the Fort Bend County area, also the Alief area, and we're looking to expand. But of course, with expanding comes dollars and things of that nature. So we're just we're trying our best to utilize the funds that are provided to us very strategically, right? Gathering the data and the information. So in the event that we're ready to expand and grow, we'll have the necessary tools needed to move forward.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your background here. How did you get started doing this as a missions project?
So about 11 years ago, there was a young lady at our church that her house burned down, and everyone was kind of focused on their trying to find them a home, getting the kids clothes. I believe she had like 3 kids, and no one really focused on food. So I went to a few of my musician friends, and I asked if they would be willing to help us out, try and get some food for the family. So, I got $25 here, $50 here. Next thing you know, we raised roughly around $800. And, I went to, I believe it was Costco, and I bought just a ton of food. I mean, it was like these massive cans of like vegetables. They're in these big cans. I didn't even know that they were, you could purchase cans that
Right?
that big. So it was absolutely amazing. So we put everything in the car, and I took it over to her. It was my uncle and a few of my nephews. And the next year, I said, man, we could do so much more. How can we, make an impact? And so I went back to those same friends and then found some other friends. And we raised enough money to provide 12 families with groceries that following year. The next year, I think it was 25. Following year was 50. Then the next year was 100. Next thing you know, it was 150. And I think around the 7th year was 300 families. The 8th year, we went from 300 because it was COVID year. to 3,000 families. And so then from that time frame till now, we've kind of scaled down a little bit because we really wanted to, make sure that we are getting the right type of families, but then also that we're making the most impact for the families that are being selected. So from then until now, it's been roughly around 1,500 families. But now, because of some of the experience that we have in this area and what we've been able to accomplish, we're ready to grow and expand and increase that number back to 3,000 families and expand our reach through some of the local school districts and local law enforcement agencies in our community.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about just the sheer logistics of this, because it's grown from helping one family to helping 3,000 families. Something tells me it's not just you and a handful of friends anymore.
Yeah,
How-
yeah. Yeah, it is amazing to see the how this is grown legs. So what we were doing years ago, let's say pre-COVID years, we were small enough to where we could basically utilize one of the cafeterias in the school, and we would have everybody in the neighborhood come and box up the goods or the groceries for the families, and then we have local law enforcement agencies from all over the county that would come in, and that we would hand them a logistics map and say, okay, in this area here, you could you can deliver to 10 families. So we would deliver back then. Then there was COVID hit. When COVID hit, we decided that all of the families should come to us, and it was pretty amazing to have everyone at one site and having all the families come to us. And then we wanted, in doing so, what happened is that we were, at that time, I believe, we were sourcing our food from the local HEB. And that's where we were, just purchase our food. They would store it for us in the back. We'd pay for it. They would deliver it to us, and everything was good. Well, the following year, the COVID year, when we decided that, look, we're going to do 3,000 families, things got a little bit difficult with some of the logistics. So they basically kicked us out of the HEB store and told us that we had to work directly with HEB Corporate. HEB Corporate has been absolutely amazing partner for us in every single way. But that first year, when they told us that we had to come and pick up the groceries from San Antonio, we were like, really? So we have to spend money to go and have the food delivered to us. And so we, a lot of things we weren't really prepared for during that time frame. But it opened our minds to, the things that we could do. Right. And so during that time frame, we, had transition where we needed to make sure we had the right people in the right position, because that's extremely important, especially when you're trying to grow and expand. And, brought in some experts that were in the fields that were actually doing the work in their current job to come and volunteer for FHF to help us move logistics further. So one thing led to another. We had 18-wheeler trucks that were coming from everywhere. We had officers that were, directing traffic on site, off site. We had, we had to get some people there to, provide music and entertainment, food for, the volunteers. You had to purchase flags and all kinds of stuff. So next thing you know, it grew exponentially, within a 1-year time frame. And the growth was it was absolutely amazing. But like I said, it opened our eyes to, the possibilities and some of the things that we'll be capable of doing in the future. And I tell you, I wouldn't, that experience was one that, set us and provided the foundation for us to start moving to the next level. And I'm so excited about what the possibilities of what, these next years are going to bring.
Wow. Did you ever imagine when you first started helping out that one family that it was going to balloon into something this big?
No, it wasn't in the plan at all. I'll tell you that, just to be upfront and honest, I had no idea that it would start with one family, right? And one of the things that we've really tried our best to focus on for the families is to make sure that the food that we're selecting, it's just not, hey, I'm giving you whatever is donated or, whatever we can. We strategically mapped out meals for the families and said, okay, if we give them a 5-pound ground beef, what else could they utilize that for? So then you not only have spaghetti and with meatballs, you also could get hamburger helper, right? But then also you may be able to expand that into hamburgers. So we had hamburger buns. So if you add hamburger buns, then that means you have to have ketchup and mustard. So it's just like, building those meals for the families and thinking, going into my own pantry and the rest of the team, going into our pantries and saying, all right, here's what our pantry looks like. What if I were in this situation? What are some of the things that I would want and need for my kids who are going to be home and I can't afford to feed them? And that's how we looked at, our grocery list. And also through the help of HEB, we were able to, expand on that a little bit and figure out a way to make this thing work.
All this growth and logistics and everything you're talking about, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you come from as far as your job and what you did before jumping into this project?
Well, so I say this all the time. I'm a graduate of Houston Baptist University. It was there. I met my lovely wife there as well. Married for 20 years this year. And, this is, for us both, this has just been an amazing journey. I currently work for a telecommunications company, Verizon. I've been with Verizon now for roughly around almost 9 years. Love every minute of it. In addition to that, this is, basically the only other thing that I do is focus on my work, but then, also in the time that I have, spare time, work on families, helping families and making sure that this event is a success.
Wow. So, a lot of people, they hear about things like this and they think, wow, this must have been a pastor and his church, or this must have been a missionary or someone like that. Sounds to me like you're just a regular guy who saw a need and said, you know what, I can fill this one person at a time. And it just grew into something bigger than you ever imagined.
Yeah, absolutely. My grandfather used to tell me that, experience is the best teacher. And, I remember there were times, where we didn't have in my home. And, sometimes they say, walk a mile in my shoe, to give yourself some experience. Well, I've had that experience, and I know exactly how the families feel, and this came not just out of pure experience, but my grandparents, when I was growing up as a kid, would during the winter months go and feed families under the Uvalde Bridge, downtown Houston. So there were a lot of families that wouldn't say families, but people that were out there. And so I don't think bottled water was available back then, but my grandparents would make beef stew, the night before, and then wake up early in the morning and go out and pass out beef stew while it was good and warm and it was cold outside, and a canned soda. And so we did that for, several years. And going into this, I was trying to figure out, how I could really, make the change. So I really think that my experience, growing up as a kid, but then also the background that my grandparents doing this kind of laid the foundation for families helping families, and just really allowed me to have, that experience and knowledge to kind of take this, to the next level. And also finding the right people in the right positions has really, really helped us.
Let's talk about exactly how, I guess, delivering of the food to the people and works. I know you have 3 locations you shared with me, the one in Alief, one in Stafford, and one in Richmond, where you gather volunteers, correct?
Correct.
And so how does that work exactly?
So our event takes place 2 days. So it's a 2-day event. It's the Friday before Thanksgiving, where that's when all of the food comes from HEB to the location. Then we have roughly around, I'd say, around 200 to 300 volunteers come out on that Friday. And all they do is we put the food together on site. So it's basically everyone say, we have the push carts. You have multiple boxes on the push carts. Everyone is at a station. Each station has a different food, whether it's a canned good, bread. things of that nature. So we put all of that into a box, and then we close the box up, put it on the truck as a counter. Meanwhile, you have another station where you have nothing but your cold goods. So it's like your turkey, your meat, hot dog, things of that nature. All of that is packaged up by a team and put on a reefer truck. And so that's on Friday. So that takes roughly around, let's say, 6 to 8 hours. So people show up at 5 o'clock and probably won't leave until like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. And then the next day, they'll wake up and we all gather there around 5 o'clock to prepare for the families that are actually coming to that site. So that distribution site on Friday is kind of like our hub, right? It's where everything is built. All of the boxes are built, and then we distribute to the other two locations. So this year, our goal is to have the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, Gus George Training Center will be one of our sites. Then we have the Stafford, the Stafford Municipal School District football stadium parking lot as a location. Then we have the Alief track and field parking lot as a location as well. So those are going to be our three sites. But it's kind of like, when you think of it, you start at one location, get things going, and everything is ready to be distributed to our second site. And then as we're doing things at the second site, we start moving things to our third location as well. So I'd say it's a pretty good, well-oiled machine. And like I said, we're just trying to perfect it and figure out ways to, grow and expand, because there is a need outside of just those 1,500 families that we're serving. I get calls all the time from families that are saying that, they missed it. Do you have any additional food that's available? I just lost my job. Or, it's just so many, it's story after story, that we hear, and we try our best to get as many people as we possibly can. But, we fall short because there are tons of families out there that are in need.
Well, so if somebody wants to be a part of this, let's say they want to volunteer, how do they get signed up to do something like that?
So to sign up for our annual event, we normally open up registration around the last week of August or the first week of September, right? It gives people an opportunity to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. So that's when registration will open for our corporate organizations that want to be a part of it. That is depending on how many people you have, we'll create a volunteer slot specifically for you guys to, gather as a team, work together as a team, and just kind of show that unity and work, strategically in that way.
And while we're on the subject of corporations, I saw on a website where people can go there, which is fhfhouston.org. Is that right? Or is it .com?
Correct. Either or. It's or.com. Yeah, we decided to get both of them just in case. So
all right, that works great. So if people want to visit fhfhouston.org or fhfhouston.com, they can go there and they can not only sign up there, but they can learn about sponsorship opportunities that individuals as well as corporations can participate in if they want to help actually buy the food, correct?
Correct. We have something, in my team, we developed a plan and said, everybody wants to contribute. But, there's different ways to contribute. And as you can see, we each have something for the team or the individual family who wants to sponsor a family, all the way up to, a sponsorship for all of our turkeys. And that we try our best to do that. Why? Because there's an array of donations that come in from different areas, and we want to make sure that we capture them all. What we've seen in the past, Paul, and we didn't mention this, was that in the past, there have been families who were so grateful for what we've done for them during that time. They would return not as donors the following year, but as sponsors, because maybe they were down on their luck at, one point in time, but then saw what we were doing and ended up becoming sponsors. And sometimes we also have sponsors that become those that are in need. And so we just try our best to have an opportunity for everyone to be a part of something great, something special. One of the amazing things about our organization is that no one on the board or the team gets paid for anything. Every single dollar that is donated goes directly to the families and meeting their needs. And it's important because, we didn't start Families Helping Families for this to be, something where we, have to basically have, people on staff to get things done. And it's just, if you have the right people in the right position and they're on board and aligned with the vision that's been set for the organization, nothing but success can come from that. And I tell my team all the time how much I appreciate them and everything that they do for Families Helping Families.
Wow, that is awesome. It sounds like this thing has really ballooned into something big, and it just keeps getting bigger, and it just keeps serving more and more people. So it's obviously going in the right direction, and it's wonderful that you can reach that many people around the Houston area that are in need. Is there anything else about the Families Helping Families that we haven't discussed that you would like to go ahead and mention while I got you on here?
Well, I think I told you this, Paul. I tell this story every time I had an opportunity to speak to someone new. Is that I think it was like year 5 that I was at a point where I was doing so much on my own, and I'm like, wasn't receiving the support that I wanted and or needed to continue to grow. And I said, this year I think it's going to be my last year doing it. I made up in my mind. I'm like, it's too much stress, it's too much pressure. There were 2 families as we were delivering. There were about 2 families that that I met, and one of the ladies that we were delivering to, she lived in an abandoned apartment complex, and I think that it was her home. I think it was her apartment that was the only one that that was readily available. As we're walking to our apartment, you see doors that are open on the other apartment complex apartments, and glass was broken out. We get to her house and knock on the door, and as soon as she opened the door, the kids came out and said, Granny, we have food. Mommy said somebody was bringing us food. And that touched my heart. And to the point that in front of the entire team, I just broke down because I couldn't understand that we live in America, and we have people that are that are hurting and hungry, all of this food around them, and they can't afford to purchase food. And then there was another lady. We walked in, it was a different situation. We walked in to provide food, and her home smelled amazing. And I told her, I said, wow, it seems like you really don't need the food that we're bringing in. But she said, she gave us a story. She told us that her story was that she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that she didn't know if this will be the last Thanksgiving. So she wanted this one to be absolutely the best and most memorable Thanksgiving. And it was like, I can't put into words, but something in me was like, look, now you understand why you're doing it. You're not doing this because, of something that you want to do. You're doing this to meet the needs of people that are hurting, and your heart is in the right place. So in anything, and Paul, this is with anything in life. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And I just had to pick up the mantle and say, this is where I feel that I need to continue to spread the message that food is important, and the food insecurity is not going anywhere, but that it's the number of families that are in need are just growing day after day. We have to be there to, the ones that are able to be there for them and make a difference in the community. And that's my mission. That's the mission of the FHF. That's the mission of my team. And, we want as many partners as we possibly can to join us in this mission, giving back to the community and providing food to families that are in need.
Wow. Well, Quincy, it sounds like you have a real heart for missions work and just a heart for helping people in your community. And it's amazing to me how when you get involved in something like this, you go in thinking, how can we help? How can we bless? And then you find out that the blessing that comes back to you is tenfold, because you just get to experience these people and meet them at their point in life and really understand, that what you're doing is more than just providing a meal, it's providing hope. And that's awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's quite amazing. You meet different people, and I mean from all different walks of life. We provide families with schedules. So when you're selected, you get a time frame. So if we're at one location and we're there from 8 to 12, you'll be selected to be in one of those 30-minute slots. And one lady, I think her slot was at 10 o'clock, and we were out there setting up, and she was there, and I don't think the first family was not supposed to show up until 8. She's there at 6:45, and we're like, well, it's like, well, ma'am, what time are you supposed to be here? She said, I think my slot is at 10 or 10:30 or something like that. And she goes, and I told her, so, well, ma'am, if you come at that time, you'll get your food. She says, well, I just didn't want the food to run out. And I had to explain to her. I was like, ma'am, every family gets the same amount of food. It's sorted in that way. So that's one of the other amazing things about the organization is that we make sure that every single family receives that's registered receives the same amount of food as a family that came at the earlier time slots. So absolutely amazing.
You reminded me of something I wanted to ask you. Anytime you're scheduling that many people to be somewhere, there's always those no-shows that something comes up and they can't make it or whatnot. What happens to the food when families don't show up?
So year after year, and I'm glad you asked that question, because we've been able to collect data over the years, and over time we've seen a reduction in families that register versus the families that come, roughly around 20% area. So 20% of the families sign up, they don't actually show up. And so when looking at that, we said we were polling like, well, why didn't you show up? And one of the main reasons was transportation. So that's why we now have 3 locations, right? So that way we're closer to the families that are actually in need. But to get to your point, in addition to that, sometimes we have additional food even after that. So we're going to do one or two things. One is that we'll have an overflow of additional families that will register, that will say, hey, come at this specific time at this location. If you still need food, wait in the line. We should have additional food available. And if we still have food left over, then what we're going to do, our goal this year is to partner with the Fort Bend County Women's Shelter and donate that food to the families there. So that is our goal. We're still working out the logistics of how that's going to happen. But I tell you, Paul, that's the amazing part about putting this together is that sometimes you do put things together like this, and then there's some additional need somewhere else that happens. And so next thing you know, you're not only helping the families that registered or the Fort Bend County Women's Shelter, then there's another need that comes in. So then it kind of grows and expands. That's we've been noticing, these last 3 years, is that there is this massive need, and we're trying to fill it as much as possible.
Wow. Well, Quincy, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me about families helping families. I started this podcast, Meet Houston Missions, to kind of get the word out about organizations just like yours that are out there being the hands and feet and serving others. And it's great to see the organizations that are spot on doing that. If there's anybody else out there that has a similar organization, would like to have some free promotion, then please feel free to drop me an email at pcannon@simmonsandfletcher.com, or just give us a call at the office, 713-932-0777. We'd love to have you as a guest. Again, thank you, Quincy. That's Quincy Collins from Families Helping Families. And if you want to be a part of his organization, please visit fhfhouston.com or fhfhouston.org and get signed up and be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.